and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled, a pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 31 out west in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the opposition is raising concerns about the securitization of the NMIA revenues.
It is akin to the forward sale of bauxite because you're basically wrapping up revenue from government entities for the next 12 years to pay those.
Government secures significant reduction in the contract price for the Spark program.
And work has begun under the REACH program to aid in post-barrel recovery.
Caribbean Cement has increased production to increase the delivery of cement across the island.
Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith says the government will continue to support Haiti by deploying additional security personnel to the country.
In news from the rest of the world, port workers in Trinidad and Tobago on strike.
Heavy rains and winds have started to lash sections of Florida as Hurricane Milton approaches.
In headline sports, Ashoka Road in Waterhouse to be renamed in honor of track and field superstar Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the Information Minister, Senator Dana Morris Dixon, has condemned recent attacks on the media and reiterated the Holness administration's support for press freedom amid escalating online attacks against journalists. Editor-at-large at the Jamaica Observer, Arthur Hall, and the editor-in-chief of the Guyana Starbrook News, Anand Prasad, will join us.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, what do you think of the government's policy of instantly returning Haitians back home? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, we'll focus on the recovery of farmers from Hurricane Beryl. President of the Jamaica Egg Farmers Association and the immediate past president of the Jamaica Agricultural Society will join us.
At 7, it's Think Like a Stockbroker.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile. Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, it's Wednesday, October 9, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The government sought to reassure lawmakers that the securitization of revenues from the Norman Manley International Airport for budgetary support this year will not unduly impact the facility's operations. Financial Secretary Darlene Morrison fielded questions regarding the first supplementary estimates for the current financial year during Wednesday's sitting of Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, the PAAC. Chairman of the committee, Michael Phillips, called the move akin to the forward sale of bauxite.
To be taking on this additional and taking the securitization of our debt, for me, is akin to the forward sale of bauxite itself. You don't have to answer that. It is akin to the forward sale of bauxite because you're basically wrapping up revenue from government entities for the next 12 years to pay those, but to pay down debt in itself and not for infrastructural in the mainstay, because only 20 billion out of, and this Spark is a $40 billion program.
Michael Phillips, PAAC chairman. The securitization will see the government receive $480 million following the placement of a bond that will allow the state to focus on infrastructure projects. Revenues from the Norman Manley International Airport, the NMIA, over the next 12 years will be used to service the bond. This will deprive the Airports Authority of Jamaica, the AAJ, of approximately $5 billion in revenue annually. However, Ms. Morrison says this will not put the AAJ's operations at risk, nor those of the NMIA, which is maintained by its concessionaire.
AAJ would have been paying dividends to the government of Jamaica on an annual basis, which are primarily coming from that flow. The AAJ, based on our assessment, is able to operate with its remaining flows. To the extent that it needs assistance, then the central government will.
But then the government will be getting a lower dividend from the AAJ, which is the point I am making.
That is correct.
Right. So you are expected to take a smaller dividend from the AAJ, but then that is revenue that you'll also be losing.
In the future, we have now gotten it this year.
Darlene Morrison, the Financial Secretary.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government has secured a significant reduction in the contract price for its flagship Shared Prosperity through Accelerated Improvement or Road Network Spark program. Mr. Holness was updating the House of Representatives on Tuesday on the status of the program. According to the Prime Minister, a preferred bidder has been identified and work is set to begin this quarter. Shalois Michael tells us more.
The more than $40 billion Spark program represents one of the largest investments in Jamaica's road and water infrastructure in recent history. Prime Minister Holness says a preferred bidder has been able to successfully secure all 4 construction packages.
The process was conducted in line with international best practices to ensure we attracted the best contractors from both local and international firms. Following the evaluation of the bids, one contractor emerged as the preferred bidder for all 4 packages. Their technical scores were the highest and their bid pricing was competitive.
However, Mr. Holness says the bids at the time were higher than anticipated. He says negotiations were successfully undertaken to reduce the overall price.
These negotiations were necessary to ensure that we are receiving the best value for money while still achieving the scope and quality of work required. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that the negotiation process has been successful, resulting in a reduction of the total contract price. Additionally, negotiations regarding the waterline works component of the Spark project were also completed with the preferred bidder and the Government of Jamaica negotiating team, agreeing to a suitable price for the $2 billion budgeted for the waterline components.
The Prime Minister also sought to assure Jamaicans that local contractors will benefit from the Spark program.
There has been considerable debate regarding the perceived sidelining of local contractors and the potential impact on the industry. As such, I would like to clarify the role of local contractors in the Spark project. Spark will be implemented island-wide and is expected to engage several local contractors as subcontractors, bringing significant benefit to the local construction industry, including job creation and skills development. However, it is important to note that the selection of these subcontractors will be made by the main contractor in accordance with the terms and conditions of the main contract.
Mr. Holness says he has strong confidence in the country's local construction industry. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness says work has started on the REACH program to aid in post-Hurricane Beryl recovery.
After the completion of the procurement process and delays due to weeks of heavy rains, I am pleased to report that work has now begun under the program. Currently, patching efforts are underway across various constituencies, and these activities will be significantly escalated in the coming days to address the backlog of repairs. The phased nature of the program remains as previously outlined, with each constituency allocated $20 million for the necessary roadworks, including pothole patching, small-scale rehabilitation, and minor drain improvement. The National Works Agency is actively overseeing the implementation to ensure efficiency and accountability.
Each constituency has been allocated $20 million for community road rehabilitation after the passage of the Category 4 hurricane in July.
The NWA will also engage in the rehabilitation of main thoroughfares of over $600 million to complement works on community roads. Mr. Speaker, this $3 billion program is necessary and essential to provide greater well-being for our commuting public. While we welcome this progress, we must also acknowledge that there will be some unavoidable disruptions to traffic flows as the work intensifies. I therefore appeal to the commuting public for their patience and understanding, as these inconveniences will result in much improved road conditions.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. He was speaking in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
Caribbean Cement Company Limited says it has increased production to increase the delivery of cement across the island. In a statement on Wednesday, the company said it has resolved operational challenges, including those caused by adverse weather conditions in recent days. It says it's now operating at full production capacity. Managing Director of Caribbean Cement Company Limited, Jorge Martinez, says customers can expect to see the improvements over the coming weeks.
Appreciate your patience during this time and are dedicated to ensuring a reliable local supply of cement. Expect noticeable improvements in deliveries over the coming week as we strive to better serve you.
Jorge Martinez, Managing Director of Caribbean Cement Company Limited. The product has been in short supply in recent weeks, with the company's annual maintenance schedule coinciding with Hurricane Beryl and the increased demand it put on construction inputs. Carib Cement is Jamaica's sole cement manufacturer.
Director of the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team, Lieutenant Colonel Godfrey Sterling, says there's a 62% reduction in the number of vulnerable IP addresses monitored across the island. In September of this year, it was announced that there's been a 78% reduction in attempted cyber attacks. It was also reported that last year, 25 categories of vulnerabilities were being monitored, which affected over 73,000 IP addresses. However, Lieutenant Sterling says data for this year show that while the categories have increased to 38, there has been a reduction in vulnerable IP addresses.
This is supported and borne on the back of a 62% reduction in the number of vulnerable IP addresses that we're monitoring on a daily basis. And on a daily basis, we monitor all IPv4 IP addresses for the .jm space, which is just over 7 million IP addresses. We have on a daily basis just over 3.05 million connections from just over 900,000 devices related to just over 600,000 accounts. Now, when we look at that, it says that each person has at least one device, some people more than one devices, and many of these devices are mobile devices. And so we've been able, based on those metrics, to craft our messaging throughout the year to target the more vulnerable in our societies.
He says the team wants to have a collaboration with the Ministry of Education to help students have an awareness of how to operate in the cyberspace.
We have created a social media brochure guideline for K-12 and for teenagers, which, while we've done it on our own, we're hoping to have a collaboration with the Ministry of Education to introduce it into the curriculum, because it really provides that sort of engaging but simple language in how to behave responsibly in cyberspace. That, when we look at it, really comes down to how we've been able to engage the other stakeholders in cyber in Jamaica and to bring a more holistic and persistent picture of our national cybersecurity threat landscape.
Lieutenant Colonel Godfrey Sterling, Director of the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Kamina Johnson-Smith says the government will continue to support Haiti by deploying additional security personnel to the country. She made the disclosure at a post-cabinet media briefing today. 24 security personnel were deployed to Haiti on September 12. Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, has been plagued with gangs since the assassination of Prime Minister Jovenel Moïse in 2021.
You would be aware, of course, that Jamaica deployed our initial command contingent on the 12th of September. And I can, of course, reiterate that we will honor our further commitment, although the matter of timing of our phased deployment and that of the CARICOM Joint Task Force has been under review due to other circumstances.
She has also highlighted that Jamaica has advocated for Haiti on the international platform because of the issues in the security system in the country.
Security, however, of course, remains the greatest area of concern, together with its very interlinked humanitarian concerns. And in light of this context, in the UN High-Level Week, Jamaica advocated throughout the week in different fora for continued and additional support of the international community for the work of the Multinational Security Support Mission, the MSS mission. On the 2nd of October, the UN Security Council voted in favor of extending the mandate of the mission for 1 year. We're very pleased with that result. It is critical to ensure that we're able to advocate for more funding, and more funding will, of course, help to support other countries coming forward with personnel to build out the numbers that are needed on the ground.
Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Meanwhile, the minister says there has been improvements in the political system in Haiti. She says this is due to the establishment of the Transitional Presidential Council.
I just wish to note that since the establishment of the Transitional Presidential Council earlier this year, there have been a significant improvement in the political situation in the country. And noting that last year, this time, much of the debate was about whether this political situation was stable enough to have security support, or whether security support was needed in order to deliver political stability. That debate has been largely resolved in that Transitional Presidential Council exists. They have been working through many of the difficult issues that establishment of institutional frameworks to take them back to elections requires.
Minister Johnson-Smith says the establishment of the Electoral Council could facilitate an election in the country soon.
It is good news to note that they are almost there with establishing the Provisional Electoral Council, which is the body that is constitutionally authorized to implement all the steps and requirements needed for elections. You might recall that elections and the life of the council is actually scheduled for 2026. So the hope is to have things in place to allow that timeline to be met, and the Electoral Council is therefore one of the critical milestones in ensuring Haiti's return to democratic governance.
Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. She was speaking at the post-cabinet media briefing this morning. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Valley Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Valley Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 17 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
Continuing the news, one of the two Burger King employees injured in the recent gas explosion at the restaurant's New Kingston location remains hospitalized. In response to questions from Nationwide News, Chief Executive Officer of Restaurant Associates Limited, RAL, Lisa Lake, says all employees are on the road to recovery and receiving the best possible follow-up care. Ms. Lake says one employee remains hospitalized to ensure she continues to heal comfortably while under the care of specialists. When asked about the other employees who were unharmed, Ms. Lake says they are still employed by Burger King and their well-being remains a priority. Ms. Lake notes that the New Kingston location remains closed and repairs have not begun as the site remains under investigation. Ms. Lake says the company has not been able to complete a full assessment of the damage as the investigation continues.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Consumers in Trinidad and Tobago will experience a 1-month delay in retrieving goods following an industrial strike by port workers. The workers in Port of Spain walked off the job at least twice in protest over health and safety concerns, as well as stalled wage negotiations. The Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association says the disruptions have left exporters and traders frustrated over the expected 2 to 3 week delays. It says at this time there are no current container vessel or terminal operations for the receipt and delivery of containers. The association warned that if the situation continues, it will lead to increased prices going into Christmas and the carnival season. It's asking for the intervention by the relevant authorities, including senior port managers and the government.
Heavy rains and winds have started to lash sections of Florida as Hurricane Milton approaches. According to the U.S. National Hurricane Center, the storm, which has since weakened to Category 3, is expected to make landfall tonight into early Thursday. Millions of residents have already fled the state. Tornado watch and warnings have also been issued after several tornadoes touched down in central Florida Wednesday afternoon. Some areas have already begun experiencing the devastating effects of the hurricane. Milton comes just 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene on September 26, causing widespread damage across the southeastern U.S. State, including in Florida, and killing more than 200 people.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the opposition is raising concerns about the securitization of NMIA revenues.
It is akin to the forward sale of bauxite because you're basically wrapping up revenue from government entities for the next 12 years to pay those.
Government secures significant reduction in the contract price for the Spark program.
And work has begun under the REACH program to aid in post-hurricane barrel recovery.
Caribbean Cement ramps up production to increase the delivery of cement across the island.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker, and we start with some latest scores in the schoolboy football matches across the country. In the Issa Digital Manning Cup, Jamaica College, they were leading Excelsior 2-1 in the day's marquee game down at Excelsior. Calabar were leading Kingston Tech 9-1. Kingston College were holding a 1-0 lead in their game against Jose Marti. In the Big Water, the Costa Cup game at Colin Miller Complex in Lucy, Froome and Recees were goalless in that battle for second round spot. In another game, Central High and Denby were 1-1 in the latest score. Former Glenmuir High School standout Kevon Lambert has been drafted in to replace Deshaun Bernard in the Jamaica National Senior Men's Football Squad ahead of tomorrow's CONCACAF Nations League showdown with Nicaragua in capital city Managua. Bernard suffered an injury in his last club game and was forced out of the national team. In the meantime, the team should now be staging their lone training session ahead of the game to be played on artificial turf. Jamaica and Nicaragua are currently locked up on 4 points apiece at the top of the group, but the Reggae Boys are leading courtesy of a superior goal difference. The second fastest man in history over 100 and 200 meters, Johan Blake, was on Tuesday presented with the key to the region in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The Key to the Region initiative, in conjunction with the local elected officials led by Tarmac Commissioner Marlon D. Bolton, made the presentation to Blake during the official opening of Butcher's Barrel food franchise in Fort Lauderdale, of which Blake is a partner. The recognition celebrates Blake's outstanding achievements in athletics and his commitment to community service. The 2011 world champion over 100 meters expressed his gratitude for the gesture.
Someone to recognize me outside my country, it's always great. This brings tears to my eyes, and you everyone up here, to recognize this moment. I have worked 20 years tirelessly, creating so much historic around the world, being one of the fastest man just in the 100 and 200 plus the 4x1. It's not an easy feat. We train with family each and every day, and to just do something like this, just as simply award, you're not asking for the world, it's just to recognize what we have been doing in the city. I just want to thank you for this.
Johan Blake. Blake is the fourth Jamaican to be recognized by the Key to the Region initiative in Fort Lauderdale after musicians Spice and Kimarley Marley and media personality Kitty and Hilton. Miss Kitty, if you please. Ashoka Road in the St. Andrew community of Waterhouse is to be renamed the Shelley and Fraser Price Drive. This in honor of the track and field superstar. Councillor for the Waterhouse Division, Byron Clark, moved the resolution during Tuesday's Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation KSAMC council meeting. The council, in approving the resolution, says the renaming of Ashoka Road is in recognition of Fraser Price's stellar achievements in track and field and an unwavering dedication and contribution to the Waterhouse community and the wider Jamaica. Fraser Price, who was born and raised on Ashoka Road, is a 10-time world championship and 8-time Olympic medalist. She is the only sprinter, male or female, to win 5 world titles in the 100 meters. Her last was in 2019 in Doha, Qatar. She has greatly impacted the lives of many young athletes through her Pocket Rocket Foundation, providing assistance through scholarships and grants. 2016 champions, the West Indies, will go in search of their second victory at the ICC Women's T20 World Cup. They'll take on Bangladesh in a Group B fixture at the Sharjah National Cricket Stadium on Thursday, and it starts at 9 a.m. Jamaica time. The Windies are currently in third in the group after losing by 10 wickets to the leader South Africa, then bouncing back to post a 6-wicket win over cellar dweller Scotland. The Caribbean team must win to remain in a chance of getting into the semi-finals, because their last group game will be against one of the title favourites, England, who are also joint leaders of the group. Assistant coach of the West Indies, Ryan Austin, says they know what to expect from their opponents.
The team is pretty prepared. We obviously know that Bangladesh is basically a spin-based unit, so we already know all these things, but with our philosophy is now we more focus on what we can control. But having said that, we still have that element of power with our batting that that could counter the spin as well. We are banking on our power as well. If you look at the wicket, they're playing pretty slow at the moment. South Africa today actually had a good total on the wicket, and if you watch how they batted, they actually use their feet a lot to the spin. So we are looking to obviously go into the game with that sort of temperament mindset.
Austin says he expects the experienced trio of Captain Haley Matthews, Tafani Taylor and DeAndre Dottin to take charge.
When you have a Haley Matthews and a Deandra Doughton and Stephanie Taylor in your side, it becomes pretty easy, because these girls have a lot of experience. They are already having conversations amongst themselves. They are already, with the practice session tonight, going to be, planning for that. So, it's pretty easy with these girls, and I am sure they are confident. And, having said that, Haley hasn't scored any runs as yet. So I am pretty sure she's hungry. So I'm Bangladesh and England better watch out because she's coming.
There you go, Ryan Austin, the assistant coach of the West Indies women's team. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you. The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
This is a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise awardees of the Dr. Barrington Waite Memorial Scholarship Program that the deadline to complete their bonding agreement has been extended to Friday, October 18, 2024. Awardees who face challenges with meeting the requirements of their bonding agreement are encouraged to call the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service at 876-922-8600 or visit the office at 30 National Heroes Circle, Kingston 4. They can also send an email to collet.mccausland@mof.gov.jm. That was a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Want to start investing in stocks but don't know how? Then the JMMB Income and Growth Fund could fit your future best. With returns that outperform inflation and tax-free advantages. Visit jm.jmmb.com to get started with as little as $5,000. Conditions apply.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dusk,
Riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Bulletins After Dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins After Dark.
Register for one of the premier events of the Chartered Accountants Week 2024, the ICAJ Business Conference. That's right, the conference is set for October 10, 2024 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. This year's theme, Reimagining the Future, Integrity, Innovation and Impact, will provide business and accounting professionals with modern strategies for today's economy. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online on Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for key discussions, insightful information on the role of AI in accounting and more. The broadcast will also feature exclusive interviews and a wealth of knowledge that will showcase ICAJ's leadership in shaping the future of accounting and finance in Jamaica. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online for this revolutionary experience on October 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The ICAJ Business Conference is back. Catch all the action at the Jamaica Pegasus online or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
You have been asking for justice. Well, get justice. The Ministry of Justice presents Get Justice, a program focused on giving Jamaicans information on how to resolve their conflicts and access justice services. The series will highlight the justice services of the ministry to include social justice, estate planning, legal aid, and expungement. Join the discussion by calling 876-630-93714 or participate via their social media pages at MOJ Official JM on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Get Justice with the Ministry of Justice every Thursday at 11 a.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media.
Ministry of Justice, come access quality service.
MJ taking justice to the people of Jamaica.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. It's 5:35 this Wednesday afternoon. You're tuned in to the Cover Story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
How are you?
Doing quite well.
Good. The Information Minister, Senator Dana Morris-Dixon, she has condemned recent attacks on the media and reiterated the Andrew Holness government's position on press freedom.
This administration is very much committed to press freedom. And I think everything we have done has demonstrated that. And I think even just our commitment to these Wednesday morning meetings is very much indicative of that. We come here every Wednesday, invite the media, we bring ministers out, we take every question, whether they're hard or easy, we take them, we don't run away.
That's Morris-Dixon. She was responding to a question from a journalist at today's post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House. She was asked to comment on recent comments on social media which made allegations of political affiliation among some journalists. Senator Dixon said social media users should be more responsible for their actions.
In terms of what we see on social media, that's an issue. And our Prime Minister has been on the record saying that we have to look at social media and look at what is said and what is posted. And we've seen it exacerbated with AI. And Lieutenant Colonel noted that, technology is a double-edged sword. It's beautiful when used for good, but it can also be used for very negative things. And I think that conversation that our Prime Minister tried to start about the social media and what we say on social media and having accountability about what was said is something that we really do have to look at.
That's the Information Minister, Senator Dana Morris-Dixon. Now, earlier this year, Jamaica moved up 8 places on the World Press Freedom Index and is now the number 1 ranked country in the Caribbean. The country ranks 24 out of 180 nations in the 2024 release of the World Press Freedom Rankings. Jamaica has a score of 77.3. The country was ranked 32 in last year's index.
According to the World Press Freedom Index 2024, in the past 2 decades, freedom of the press as a whole has continued to improve in Jamaica. However, there is a growing gulf of distrust between government officials and the media that has contributed to a decline in institutional respect for press freedom.
And of course, over the last couple of weeks, certainly in the last couple of months, we've seen an escalation in online attacks against members of the media. Some media houses being branded JLP aligned, and now there's an ongoing effort certainly to brand our colleagues at the Jamaica Gleaner as being aligned to the People's National Party. The Gleaner and the journalists have all flatly denied the accuracy of those things floating around. We have with us now Editor-at-Large at Jamaica Observer, Arthur Hall, and Editor-in-Chief of the Ghana Starbrook News, Anand Prasad, to discuss this matter of press freedom and the escalating attacks against journalists. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Arthur?
Good afternoon, Ricardo. Good afternoon, Siobhan.
All right. And I want to start with you, Arthur Hall, because you're an old hand at this. You've seen a lot in your years in journalism. Have you ever seen it? A lot of people are saying it's pretty bad, and it seems to be getting worse. Have you ever seen it this bad?
Ricardo, it's the first time in my experience. I started in journalism in 1988. And it's the first time that I have covered it that it has been this bad. I mean, I've read about the 1980s, where going into the 1980 election, where the Michael Manley PMP team marched and gleaned and won next time. But I have never seen it as bad as this. I've never seen colleagues with fear that they are facing now. And I'm just wondering who next. Because it seems like the political act have decided that the media is their target. And that, for me, is scary. I lived through 1980 when the only good laborite was a dead laborite. And the only good PMP was a dead PMP. And I suspect that if we continue like this, then there's some political idiots who are going to believe that only good journalists from some media house are going to be a dead journalist. And I don't know if the political activists understand what they are putting the journalists through.
But what do you think has changed, though, Arthur, that has caused this kind of escalation and the kind of intensity that we're seeing?
I can't tell you what has changed, Ricardo. That's not what I think is a fact. It's a fact that supporters of both political parties have been crawling to get to the bottom. So there is no standards again. There's no principles again. In my time of covering politics, husband, wives, children were sacred. When we find that politicians are saying that the output of a media house is being controlled because the wife of a member of a politician is a member of that media house, it tells you that we are getting to the bottom. I worked for years with Yvonne Graham Nicholson, who is now at the OUR, who is a journalist and who is married to AJ Nicholson. And she was never a target. Never a target. Our politicians have lost all moral compass, all standards of decency, everything that is sacred is no longer sacred. And that is what is happening now.
And Anand Prasad, what has been your experience over in Guyana?
Well, I think it mirrors in many ways what's happening. We have a deeply polarized society, and both parties go all out to make sure that they can gain advantage by attacking media that try to cover stories in an objective way. And I think what is different over the last 10 or so years is the fact that, the advent of social media has allowed so many people now to be able to criticize and to condemn, and to do so from a distance, so they're not accountable at all. And what is happening is that, there are concerns and allegations that both parties here and others use these people as surrogates to attack, so they can then say, it's not us, it's other people, we would never stand for that, and so on. So listening to the minister is quite interesting, but the bottom line is it's clear that the JLP feels that this investigation by the Integrity Commission is very serious. Prime Minister Holness faces a very serious examination of his background. And obviously, they're looking for a scapegoat here. What is very important is for the minister to say, I am going to make sure that I convey the concerns that have been raised to the party. And the party must say publicly that it attacks and it condemns those people who've been attacking the Gleaner and attacking those individual journalists and making these outrageous allegations against them. So it's okay to say, fine, we observe press freedom, and I know Jamaica's position is far better than ours because you're at 24 and we're at 77 on that scale. But what I think has really changed over the last 10 or so years is that social media has allowed any and everybody to attack the media in a way in which they use it as surrogates to represent their parties and then say, oh, no, it's not us, it's whatever. So we witnessed that over here too, where journalists have been attacked by people on social media who we know are connected to bigwigs in both of the political parties.
And then, Prasad, I want us to do a little bit of introspection, though, as journalists, because a lot of times when I have conversations with Jamaicans, they say, you know, the media is sort of, in the region, a law unto itself. It can report however it wants. It can frame narratives however it wants. And then there's nobody who members of the public can complain to when they feel hard done or wronged by our reporting. Is that perhaps part of the problem, that without some kind of, I don't know, a press complaints authority, the social media activists and the political tribalists then feel that they have to sort of do some amount of checking, if you will, of the media's reporting? But let me take that answer after the break, because you're up on the break.
Sure.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Imagine opening a bank account without ever leaving your home. Well, at CIBC Caribbean, we've changed the game. Open a new CIBC savings or checking account completely online using your computer or phone, anywhere, anytime. No need to visit the bank, no waiting in line. Just apply, verify, and sign your documents, all online. It's secure, seamless, and 100% digital. Open your new CIBC account by applying online today.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
This vexed issue of press freedom and attacks on the press perhaps shouldn't be a vexed issue, but a lot of Jamaicans say, yes, that different media houses are biased and there are different narratives being pushed. We're interrogating the issue with editor-at-large at the Jamaica Observer, Arthur Hall. The editor-in-chief of the Guyana Starbrook News, Anand Prasad, is with us. And before the break, Anand, I asked if perhaps because there is no sort of complaints authority in the region, members of the political parties who feel or perceive the reporting in a particular way feel they have to go on the attack. Is there any credibility to that kind of thinking?
No, I don't think so at all. We're not a law unto ourselves. Certainly, people know who the established media houses are in each territory or country, and each of them establishes their own means of dealing with complaints. You know, forever long, as long as you have a government in place, they'll always complain about coverage. But as long as you can show that you cover them fairly, they have the right to reply, they can criticize what it is you have carried, that's fine. And we do that over here. So nobody can say that we don't allow that. This whole thing about having a press complaints authority has been used really by people who've been interested in trying to control the media. And we should be self-regulated, and we are in a large measure in many of these countries. So I think that's really an excuse. We're not a law unto ourselves. And usually all governments and political parties have this opportunity to reply and to have their views fully ventilated. So I do not think that that's something that's credible at all.
And Arthur, on that matter of self-regulation, you can only speak locally here in terms of the Press Association of Jamaica, which is the body that overarchingly represents journalists locally. Do you feel that it is operating at the standard where it fulfills that notion of self-regulation?
Well, Siobhan, I share a little bit of history with you. For 6 years, I was a member of the executive of the Press Association of Jamaica. And my executive, which was led by Byron Buckley and Jenny Campbell, agreed on the establishment of a press complaints council.
Oh.
We brought a journalist from England where there is a press complaints council to speak to us and how it operates, and we were agreed that one was necessary. I won't tell you which segment of the media was opposed to it, but it never got off the ground.
Was it the media bosses?
To a press complaints council. I think that the press is not above criticism. Particularly, I don't have an issue when people say that Nationwide or Jamaica Observer is a PMP aligned or a JLP aligned media house. I think that changes like the wind. So I'm not opposed to that. What gets my hackers up is when people start to name journalists, anonymous people on social media with no indication, with no proof, they start to name journalists. Now, I am out at lunch with a member, an MP from the People's National Party, and they take my picture and say, oh, see it here, Arthur is a PMP aligned journalist. They didn't see the day before when I was out at lunch with a member of the Jamaica Labour Party. But they use that as because they can hide behind social media. I am not opposed to a press complaints council. I think the media houses should not believe that we are a law to ourselves. I'm sorry, I had to pull over where I'm driving, and there's a truck behind me, so I'll allow Alan to respond.
Okay, right. So again, the matter you're saying, Anand, that you believe that perhaps the idea of any kind of press complaints authority is a way to control the media. But then, how do we ensure in a sort of active way that we are saying to the public we are sticking to the tenets of journalism? Is it that we just hope that implicitly they'll see it in our reporting, or do we need to take more concrete steps in that direction?
Yeah, so I think each media house has to make sure they take vital steps to ensure that the public recognizes that when we do get things wrong and incorrect, and that happens frequently, it's an occupational hazard, that you do correct and you do provide the right reply. So I can say that for my media house that we do that religiously, and anybody who has a complaint can certainly get that here. We bend over backwards to carry criticisms of our work, and we don't in any way adulterate or limit or have that sort of reduced. So all sorts of criticisms of our work we publish completely. There is full right of reply. So I think once people perceive that you are, in that sort of format, I think you're fine. But across the board, everybody has to do that. But where it is, people are not complying, I think, the press associations in the various countries have to make sure they also try to make it clear to these bodies and these other media houses that they have to be open, they have to be willing to entertain criticisms, and they have to operate in a way that the public feels that they're being given a fair opportunity to respond.
And there's obviously the need to lower the temperature. I mean, and I feel like it's a problem not just here in the region, but we see it in developed countries like the United States, where the political temperature in deeply divided societies, it's on the rise, yeah? And I often wonder to myself, how do we, obviously, influential voices, there are people who turn to us for credible information. What role can we play in lowering that kind of temperature, which I think is partly to be blamed for the attacks that we're seeing? Sure, Arthur. Arthur?
Go ahead, Arthur.
I'm telling you this. What it is that political fanatics, what they want is to ensure that whatever you report, it is not taken serious. So it's not that they even think it's lie. What they're trying to do now is to ensure that anything that Nationwide reports about the PMP, people accept it with a grain of salt. Anything that Gleaner reports about the JLP, people accept it with a grain of salt.
So sort of delegitimizing.
We can do as a media. They are trying to ensure. And if you say to them, and I challenge Nationwide to call in anybody who says they are a JP aligned media house and show them the number of stories you have done that might be favorable to the JLP, the number of stories you have done favorable to the JLP, the number to the PMP, the number of stories you have done unfavorable to the JLP, the number of stories you have done unfavorable to the PMP, it will shut them up. But they don't want the truth to come out because nationwide, the Gleaner, RJR, the Jamaica Observer have been more objective than many media in first world countries. And if we check the numbers, they will shut up.
But Arthur, I want to put it to you: is there some level of I want to say complacency on the part of media houses where the competition has become more important than the camaraderie that journalists should share, whereas we don't seem to defend each other as readily as we used to be in the past? Whereas let's look at the instant case of this matter, which was brought to the fore, where the Gleaner was attacked, and many people pointed out, where was the defense of Observer and Nationwide News months before when political party was attacking them? Is it?
Can I respond to that?
Please do.
When people say that a media house is aligned to the party, that's their comment. That's their opinion. What is scary is when people start to name journalists and say because this journalist has a baby for that person on the opposite side, then that is room for criticism. Mm-hmm. When people start to say, because this media executive is married to a practicing politician on the other side, I have no problem when they say, oh, Observer Labourite or Observer PMP, because it changes every story that is written.
Mm-hmm.
So I have absolutely no problem with that. The good thing about my memory, I remember when the Banat Dudas issue was going on and Nationwide was tearing into then Prime Minister Bruce Golding and the Jamaica Labour Party. But they don't want to remember that. So when they say a media house is aligned to a political party, that for me water off the duck's back. When you start to name individual journalists, and we have seen, I don't know if people remember, a journalist was beaten at a political conference at the Jamaica Observer. That history will never leave me. And I'm saying we're setting up journalists for that.
But what about Arthur? What about naming, not necessarily naming journalists that have moved from, say, the profession into government service and vice versa? Do you consider that to be a fair comment?
For me, journalists have moved into political, to working for government for as long as I can remember. I can go through a list of journalists who have moved to work for. So when they say, oh, but nationwide journalists have moved to work for JLP and they name Apka, their name Naomi, then I remember that the former managing editor of the Gleaner, Jenny Cabell, moved to work for the PMP. So that for me is a skill that we have, is a talent that we have, is a communication, is our talent.
But do you consider the highlighting it by political parties an issue?
I think that people, Jamaicans, are not stupid. And Jamaicans have seen this before. So I don't worry about that. And I don't worry when they say a media house is aligned to somebody. I am worried when they start to say, oh, this journalist was in a relationship with that person, so that journalist is something. I don't remember that. I don't know if people remember that Lisa Anna had a child for a practicing Jamaica Labour Party activist. So are you saying that Lisa is going to be a Labourite for the rest of her life? She has won Siobhan, 3-4 elections in St. Anne on a PMP ticket.
Yeah.
It is unfair. It is indecent. And our politics, for the first time in my life, I am saying, let's just call the election and get it over with. Because we have lost all standards, all morals, and we are in serious trouble. And I don't want anything to happen to my friends at Nationwide. my friends at RGR, my friends at Gleaner, my friends at Irie, my friends at CVM, me and journalists are brother, comrade. And when politicians allow their idiot supporters to take aim at our journalists until something happens seriously, which I hope doesn't happen, then we are going to understand the slippery slope that we're walking down.
Yeah. Anand, I'm going to give you the last word on how we move forward.
Yeah, so I think we just have to continue doing what we're doing, but we also have to hold the political parties accountable for what's going on here, because it's quite clear now that they have embarked on using social media to have their ciphers launch these attacks. And it's important that all of the media rally around and their various associations take a firm line on ensuring that the governments are held accountable and they themselves come out and condemn these various attacks on journalists, and for them to uphold the view that we have a right to cover them, and to cover them in a way that doesn't result in personal attacks and besmirching of images and bringing families of journalists into the fray, because that is just completely unacceptable.
Yeah. Anand Prasad is the editor-in-chief at the Guyana Starbrook News, and of course Arthur Hall, locally here, editor-at-large at the Jamaica Observer. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The headlines are next at 6.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smichael. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government has secured a significant reduction in the contract price for its flagship Shared Prosperity through Accelerated Improvement to a Road Network Spark program. According to the Prime Minister, a preferred bidder has been identified and work is set to begin this quarter.
The process was conducted in line with international best practices to ensure we attracted the best contractors from both local and international firms. Following the evaluation of the bids, one contractor emerged as the preferred bidder for all 4 packages. Their technical scores were the highest and their bid pricing was competitive.
The Prime Minister also sought to assure Jamaicans that local contractors will benefit from the Spark program.
There has been considerable debate regarding the perceived sidelining of local contractors and the potential impact on the industry. As such, I would like to clarify the role of local contractors in the Spark project. Spark will be implemented island-wide and is expected to engage several local contractors as subcontractors, bringing significant benefit to the local construction industry, including job creation and skills development. However, it is important to note that the selection of these subcontractors will be made by the main contractor in accordance with the terms and conditions of the main contract.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness says work has begun under the Relief Emergency Assistance and Community Help REACH program to aid in post-burial recovery.
After the completion of the procurement process and delays due to weeks of heavy rains, I am pleased to report that work has now begun under the program. Currently, patching efforts are underway across various constituencies, and these activities will be significantly escalated in the coming days to address the backlog of repairs. The phased nature of the program remains as previously outlined, with each constituency allocated $20 million for the necessary roadworks, including pothole patching, small-scale rehabilitation, and minor drain improvement. The National Works Agency is actively overseeing the implementation to ensure efficiency and accountability.
Each constituency has been allocated $20 million for community road rehabilitation after the passage of the Category 4 storm in July. The Prime Minister is advising the commuting public to brace for traffic disruptions as the work intensifies.
The NWA will also engage in the rehabilitation of main thoroughfares of over $600 million to complement works on community roads. Mr. Speaker, this $3 billion program is necessary and essential to provide greater well-being for our commuting public. While we welcome this progress, we must also acknowledge that there will be some unavoidable disruptions to traffic flows as the work intensifies. I therefore appeal to the commuting public for their patience and understanding, as these inconveniences will result in much improved road conditions.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Minister of Foreign Affairs Kamina Johnson-Smith has reaffirmed the Holness administration's continued support to Haiti. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing, Minister Johnson-Smith says Jamaica will be sending additional troops to the country.
You would be aware, of course, that Jamaica deployed our initial command contingent on the 12th of September. And I can, of course, reiterate that we will honor our further commitment, although the matter of timing of our phased deployment and that of the CARICOM Joint Task Force has been under review due to other circumstances.
Minister Johnson-Smith also highlighted that Jamaica has advocated for Haiti on the international platform because of issues in the security system in the country.
Security, however, of course, remains the greatest area of concern, together with its very interlinked humanitarian concerns. And in light of this context, in the UN High-Level Week, Jamaica advocated throughout the week in different fora for continued and additional support of the international community for the work of the Multinational Security Support Mission, the MSS mission. On the 2nd of October, the UN Security Council voted in favor of extending the mandate of the mission for 1 year. We're very pleased with that result. It is critical to ensure that we're able to advocate for more funding, and more funding will, of course, help to support other countries coming forward with personnel to build out the numbers that are needed on the ground.
Meanwhile, Minister Johnson-Smith says there have been improvements in the political system in Haiti. She says this is due to the establishment of the Transitional Presidential Council.
I just wish to note that since the establishment of the Transitional Presidential Council earlier this year, there have been a significant improvement in the political situation in the country. And noting that last year, this time, much of the debate was about whether this political situation was stable enough to have security support, or whether security support was needed in order to deliver political stability. That debate has been largely resolved in that Transitional Presidential Council exists. They have been working through many of the difficult issues that establishment of institutional frameworks to take them back to elections requires.
Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smykel. Sports is next.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
Looking to add a touch of elegance to your room? The Lighting World by Fosrich is having a massive lighting blowout sale. Get your wall lamps, chandeliers, ceiling lamps, fans, and more at amazingly low prices. Sale begins Sunday, September 29, with up to 50% off selected items. It's the Fosrich Lighting Blowout Sale, September 29. Shop and save only at Fosrich. Open Sundays.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker, and we start with results in schoolboy football matches across the island today. In the Issa Digicel Manning Cup, Jamaica College beat Excelsior by 3-1 in the day's marquee game down at Excelsior High. Calabar, they slammed the Kingston Tech 10-2. 4 goals came from Jaheim Ranking. Stats turned back Camperdown 2-0. Kingston College, they beat Josemarty by 1-0. In the Big Water, the Costa Cup game at Colin Miller Complex in Lucy, Froome secured their spot in the second round after playing out a goalless draw with Rossies. And the Kemsil, they beat Glenmuir 1-0. In another game, Central High and Denby, they were 1-1, and that's the latest. That's the only one that's not a result. The Central High Denby 1-1 is the latest, the last score we heard from them. The Jamaica National Senior Men's Football Team would have just about wrapped up their final training session ahead of tomorrow night's big game against Nicaragua in the CONCACAF Nations League at the National Stadium in Managua. Former Glenmuir High School standout Kevon Lambert came in to replace Deshaun Bernard, who, after being called up, suffered an injury in his last club game and was ruled out. And the Jamaicans and the Nicaraguans are at the moment on 4 points atop the standings in Group B, but the Reggae Boys are leading on goal difference. Former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has been appointed global head of soccer at Red Bull. The 57-year-old German will begin the role on January 1, 2025. Klopp said after almost 25 years on the sideline, he could not be more excited to get involved in a project like the one he's now in. He says the role may have changed, but his passion for football and the people who make the game what it is has not. Energy drinks brand Red Bull, they own RB Leipzig in Germany, Austrian side Red Bull Salzburg, and Major League side in the US, New York Red Bulls, as well as the Brazilian side Red Bull Bragantino. It also took a minority stake in championship side Leeds and became the club's front of shirt sponsor earlier this year. Red Bull says Klopp will not be involved in day-to-day operations, but will advise teams on playing philosophy, transfer strategy, and coaching development. The second fastest man in history over 100 and 200 meters, Johan Blake, was on Tuesday presented with the Key to the Region in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The Key to the Region initiative, in conjunction with local elected officials led by Tarmac Commissioner Marlon D. Bolton, made the presentation to Blake during the official opening of Butcher's Barrel food franchise in Fort Lauderdale, of which Blake is a partner. The recognition celebrates Blake's outstanding achievements in athletics and his commitment to community service. The 2011 world champion over 100 meters expresses gratitude for the gesture.
Someone to recognize me outside my country, it's always great. This brings tears to my eyes, and you ever want to hear, to recognize this moment. I have worked 20 odd years tirelessly, creating so much historic around the world, being one of the fastest man just in the 100 and 200 plus the 4x1. It's not an easy feat. We train, we vomit each and every day, and to just do something like this, just as simply award, you're not asking for the world, it's just to recognize what we have been doing in the city. I just want to thank you for this.
That's Johan Blake. Blake is the fourth Jamaican to be recognized by the Key of the Region initiative in Fort Lauderdale, and this after musicians Spice and Kimarley Marley and media personality Miss Kitty. Ashoka Road in St. Andrew in the St. Andrew community of Waterhouse is to be renamed the Shelley and Fraser Price Drive. This in honor of the track and field superstar. Councillor for the Waterhouse Division, Byron Clark, moved the resolution during Tuesday's Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation Council meeting. The council, in approving the resolution, says the renaming of Ashoka Road is in recognition of Fraser Price's stellar achievements in track and field and an unwavering dedication and contribution to the Waterhouse community and wider Jamaica. Fraser Price, who was born and raised on Ashoka Road, is a 10-time world championship and 8-time Olympic medalist. She is the only sprinter, male or female, to win 5 world titles in the 100 meters. She's greatly impacted the lives of many young athletes through her Pocket Rocket Foundation, providing assistance through scholarships and grants. 2016 champions, the West Indies, they'll go in search of their second victory at the ICC Women's T20 World Cup when they face Bangladesh in a Group B fixture at the Sharjah National Cricket Stadium on Thursday, starting at 9 a.m. Jamaica time. The Windies are currently in third in the group after losing by 10 wickets to leader South Africa, then bouncing back to post a 6-wicket win over bottom place Scotland. The Caribbean team must win to remain in with a chance of getting into the semi-finals because their last group game will be against one of the title favourites, England, who are joint leaders of the group. Assistant coach of the West Indies, Ryan Austin, says they know what to expect from Bangladesh.
The team is pretty prepared. We obviously know that Bangladesh is basically a spin-based unit, so we already know all these things, but with our philosophy is now we more focus on what we can control. But having said that, we still have that element of power with our batting that that could counter the spin as well. We are banking on our power as well. If you look at the wicket, they're playing pretty slow at the moment. South Africa today actually had a good total on the wicket, and if you watch how they batted, they actually use their feet a lot to the spin. So we are looking to obviously go into the game with that sort of temperament mindset.
Austin says he expects the experienced trio of Captain Hayley Matthews, Stefani Taylor and DeAndre Dottin to take the lead.
When you have a Hayley Matthews and a DeAndre Dottin and Stephanie Taylor in your side, it becomes pretty easy, because these girls have a lot of experience. They are already having conversations amongst themselves. They are already, with the practice session tonight, going to be, planning for that. So, it's pretty easy with these girls, and I am sure they are confident. And, having said that, Hayley hasn't scored any runs as yet. So I am pretty sure she's hungry. So I'm Bangladesh and England better watch out because she's coming.
Ryan Austin, assistant coach of the West Indies women's cricket team. Joe Root has become England's highest run scorer in Test cricket history. The 33-year-old achieved the landmark when he reached 71 against Pakistan on day 3 of the first Test in Multan. Root was not out at close on a masterful 176 as England reached 492 for 3, replying to Pakistan's 556 all-out. Root, who is playing in his 147th Test, is currently on 12,578 career Test runs, eclipsing Alistair Cook's tally of 12,472 runs. He's also moved up to 5th on the all-time list behind Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting, Jacques Kallis and Rahul Dravid. Meanwhile, England are just 64 runs behind after another runs-filled day of Test cricket. Root has so far starred in an unbroken 4th-wicket stand of 243 with Harry Brook, who is not out on 141. Ben Duckett weighed in with 84. Manager of Jamaica's senior women's netball team, Maureen Brown, says she's optimistic about the 10-member squad selected for the Fast 5 World Series. The tournament is set for the Wolfbrook Arena in Christchurch, New Zealand, November 10, 9 and 10. Brown admits they have selected a youthful squad, but says while they lack in experience, they'll make up for with skill and determination.
My team is pretty inexperienced. We have just 2 persons or 3 persons who have ever gone to Fast 5. So the others are eager and are willing to be out on that court to put it out all there to show their piece, So as a first-time manager, I'm excited to go with the girls. They're just super and they're proud to have been named. And so therefore, they're going out to show the world that they are up against the best and they will pull off a victory.
And she's looking forward to the 3 players who have Fast 5 experience to pull the squad along.
One of these girls have never been on a stage like that. As I said, it was just 2 or 3 persons who have gone before. Amanda Pickney, Kimon Shaw, and Roxana McLean. Those are 3 persons who have gone before. So all the others are going to be, as you call them, newbie. So, they're really going to be banking on those 3 persons' experience and to go out there and give it their all.
Finally, in sports at this time, tennis analyst Cassius Watson welcomed Wimbledon into the technology era after they ditched line judges in favor of technology, which calls whether a ball has landed out within a tenth of a second. Line judges have been part of the furniture at the All England club throughout the tournament's 147-year history.
I was kind of surprised that they've been holding out this long because most of the other majors have gone. Definitely Australian Open was the first to to enact the automatic line judges, but they've been using the technology for a couple of years now. Even got to the point where they've actually had regular Australians record their voices and they use it to call the lines using the automated system. That was quite interesting as well. But no surprises.
However, Watson says the venue's decision to install automated electronic line calling, or ELC, on all 18 match courts is just the natural evolution of the sport. He says the technology will make decision making at the venue more precise.
The game is striving for more accuracy. We've seen many calls, not just in tennis, but in many sports, where officials, they're using their eyes. There's technology that can make things better, can make a more accurate call. I figured that Wimbledon would get there because, one bad call or one situation like that can change the whole dynamic of a match, of someone's career.
That's Cassius Watson, tennis analyst, and that's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:19.
Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life, what we feel safe at night.
Yeah, girl.
Yo, Martina. Beg your money, no? Jano Star, the thing dismal. It's sticky out in the streets, you know.
Hey, money. Well, I take that from you right now. But, Rashi, I have a way we can make some money quick. Like 100 grand, my girl.
100 grand? Quick and fast? Yo! But hold on there. That not sound straight.
What you mean by that not sound straight? A straight business me say. And you know that too. And I work from home, my girl. All you need is a phone. I'm send you the lead them. You just have to call me. Easy one too that.
Well, the maths they not seem so hard at all. I really want to. Alright. Me go check my brother and show him the pre. Let me call you back later.
Make sure you call me back,
Yeah, girl.
Alright, later.
Yo, sis, what go on?
Good son. Martina show me a pre for make some quick money, All I have to do, I just dial. She will send the leads.
Dial? Sis, you know no sense. Martina chopper, I sink she go sink you. We not do the right thing. You should report her. No have no conversation with no chopper. Just do the right thing.
She my friend. Oh, you have to say that. Oh, me for do her that. She check for me.
So if she your friend, a prison what that and you can end up dead and get mixed up with the wrong people them. You need to take care of yourself and do the right thing.
Real talk. Me never did a meds it so All me I think about is how to make some quick money. Thanks for the guidance. May I do the right thing and load that out.
I bet you look a real work and do the right thing.
A true man. Me could do the right thing and live good.
Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life, what we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good. I better you and I.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
National Debaters Week 2024 is here.
Under our theme, Hear Me Roar.
Rise, organize, articulate, reason. For October 13 to 19.
Join us for the National Church Service at Ocherius Methodist on October 30.
Then it's your debate invitationals. Zone A on October 14, Zone B on the 15th, and Zone C on the 16th.
On October 17, the J Debate Leadership Summit at Church Teachers College. The week culminates with a sumptuous serving of talent at the Jade Paper Pot and Pageant, October 19th.
Visit myj.org for more info.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening to our friends on our YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. 20 Haitians who landed in Portland on Saturday, they have been repatriated to their homeland. Now, it's understood the group, which included women and children, were sent back Sunday evening. They were initially being held at the Port Antonio Police Station. And that's what we're about to talk about, yeah? That's what we're going to ask your opinion on. Now, human rights lawyer and founder of Freedom Imaginaries, Melanie Elaine, says when she arrived at the station on Sunday, she was barred from speaking with the Haitians. Ms. Elaine says the government's actions to continue disregarding the Constitution is unacceptable, and she's calling on the judiciary, civil society groups, and Jamaicans to stand against such actions.
Civil society organizations, justice operators, ordinary citizens in Jamaica, we have to come together and send a strong message, which is that in a democracy governed by the rule of law, we cannot have a category of persons who exist outside of the protective cover of the Constitution. That is repugnant to the concept and the idea of the rule of law, and it is repugnant to who we are as Jamaicans. So I urge the government to end this practice of incommunicado detention, of denying access to attorneys at law, and of refoulement, because this is not who we are as Jamaicans, as I said, and we must uphold the rule of law.
Indeed, Melanie Elaine there, Elaine, human rights lawyer and founder of Freedom Imaginaries. So in Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, what do you think of the government's policy of instantly returning Haitians back home? We've had several groups of Haitians illegally entering our shores since the start of the year. I think this one was the fifth group. And we've seen where one group that entered our shores last year, they are in the process of seeking asylum still. So, what do you think of the government's policy of instantly returning Haitians back home? We'll start with the comments on our Facebook platform. George Elliott is saying that we cannot afford to risk the possibility that some of the gang members have immersed themselves in these groups and we have no way of checking. It's just another case of the good suffering for the bad. Michelle Bernard is saying that we have our own issues here. In the meantime, the Haitians are even in a worse situation. But if I were a Haitian, I'd like to be rescued by someone somewhere. On the other hand, we cannot take any more. We've helped a lot. It's really complicated. Beverly Barrett is asking why the advocate them don't put them up in their homes. Wow. Beva Baker is saying that the government is doing a wonderful job by turning them back, saying that we have enough problems here in Jamaica and we don't even know nothing about them. Fabian Smith is saying that we have our own issues here. Yeah. And he's asking why these advocate groups stand the responsibility. Why don't they stand the responsibility of taking these people, since the government is not keeping them? Carlington Bartley saying not doing so would defeat the purpose of deploying our military to restore order in Haiti. And of course, we've sent 24 security personnel over there in Haiti. I believe 20 are from the JDF and 4 from the JCF. Brenda L. McLeod says migrants can add value to the country, especially with falling population. So many Jamaicans live in the diaspora, both legally and illegally. They are migrants too. They're immigrants too. Elarita Mitchell says, as much as the government would want to help everyone, we don't have the capacity to admit everyone. 100 and more are being accommodated by the government already. How much more can we accept? Greedy lawyer complaining because they're paid according to how many persons they represent. They don't care about the risks to Jamaicans. All right. Christopher Isaacs is saying we should have been totally overrun. We would have been totally overrun and inundated by our unfortunate brothers and sisters were this approach not taken. Yeah. Sansis Sinaj is saying I support this move by the government. And I can see where Natalie Winter says give them a chance to apply for asylum. And I think that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons Melania Lane is saying that, you know, we should stand up. The government, she's calling on the government and the judiciary to stand against the immediate return of the Haitians without any process, without due process. Othniel Blair is saying, I have no problem in keeping some, but those who are advocating for them must be able to help the government to house and take care of them. Don't know other part they would have going, Othniel. Sean Major Campbell is saying, the most well-known and loved chapter of the Bible is in Jamaica is Leviticus 19, and yet many never remember the verse that says, when a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you. He continues to say, at the very least, though, it would be reasonable to allow a human rights lawyer to engage with these our brothers and sisters in their time of need. Switching gears and going on over to our Instagram platform where Boss Lady is saying it's the best policy since independence. Send them back forthwith. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion. What do you think of the government's policy of instantly returning Haitians back home? Willie Ryan Wilson is saying it's an egregious assault of the Haitians' human rights. The JLP government should be called out for constantly disregarding the Constitution. Dave Hall says heartless, no compassion, especially in the way they are doing it. All right, Naturalist is saying that it's a good policy because how many 100,000 would come to Jamaica every year? The government would not have control of how many come illegally and stay. Lalibella is saying any such policy is inhumane and disgusting. Let me see some of the comments on our YouTube platform here. Yeah. Let me see if I can get in some more. Tropics JM says fear mongering, not healthy. I missed that comment just now. Let me see if I can get them back. Edwin Douglas says I fully support the government. Them for go at them yard. Wow. And Papa is saying send them back with the Haitians. Yeah. Fax is saying if we can barely help ourselves. If we can barely help ourselves, how are we going to help over 10 million Haitians? Yeah, Delroy Walker, we just can't take the risk. Tell them, take them. Wow, it's really a complicated situation in which we find ourselves here. Claude West says send them back. We cannot support all of them. Marlene P says I agree with the government to send them back. Well done. Patrick Rowe here saying treat them well and more will come. Those hypocrites bawling how poor Jamaicans are asking us to keep Haitians. We don't have ID for Jamaicans. Now we want to add even more unknown. Yeah. A lot of comments coming in on this one. Leonard Seville says the people who saying to keep them is looking through politics. I think they should send them back ASAP. Desnem says a lot of guns running the roads in JA right now came in through Haiti. It's complicated and unfortunate situation for Haitian families, but we don't know who's a part of the gang. Yeah. PB says watch out for the guns for drugs trading. Yeah, and Cheerful Bird says send them back. We already send police to help coming from Fitzroy Falls. Yeah. Wow, it is really a sad situation. I was watching a story out of Haiti where the death toll from a small town in a massacre that took place in Haiti, it has risen to 115 brutal gang attacks. And I saw the people, them just run up and down. They're just running. It's really a sad situation in Haiti, and I just don't know, man. I do not know. Willow Will says, send them back. Send them back. Wow. Iron Lady says, then me hear the immigration thing bring new blood in the Jamaican economy. Wow. Yeah. Monica Stone says, send them back if them want human rights. Seek it in Haiti. They have no rights to Jamaica. And that's one of the things, you enter illegally. But I suppose they should be allowed to have legal representation of some sort before sending them back. I guess it's international standards and a part of the Constitution. Let me see. Let me see if I can get in some more. A lot of comments coming in on this one. Fax, I see you saying if we can barely help ourselves, how are we going to help them? Yeah. Sonia Hibbert says, send them back. Too much of them coming here illegally, and moreover, too much guns coming in from Haiti. Indeed, that's where we have to end this discussion. It's an ongoing one. I suspect we have not seen the last unfortunately, the last of it, So we hope this situation will be handled or addressed as it relates to shoring up border protection in some way to ensure that we are on top of things. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion this evening. That's all the time we have for Public Opinion. Do stay tuned for the business report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Motorists can expect an increase at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, October 10. That's tomorrow. And that's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. Now, both grades of gasoline, 90 octane and 87 octane, will go up by $2.94 per liter. Automotive diesel fuel will see an increase of $3.06 per liter, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will also go up by $3.06 per liter. Kerosene too will see an increase of $3.06 per liter. Also, propane liquid petroleum and butane will both go up by $3.06 per liter. Further afield, the U.S. government is considering seeking the breakup of the world's biggest search engine, Google, which it accuses of causing harm to Americans. The Department of Justice, DOJ, has been considering so-called remedies since a landmark court ruling in August, which found Google illegally crushed its competition in online search. Now, if the DOJ pushes ahead with the proposed remedies and they are accepted by the judge in the case, it would represent, arguably, the biggest regulatory intervention in the history of big tech. Google has pushed back hard against the proposals, describing them as radical and sweeping, and claiming they risk hurting consumers, businesses, and developers. And finally, the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 159 Jamaican dollars and 7 cents to buy $1 US, 208 Jamaican dollars and 75 cents to buy $1 British pound, and 116 Jamaican dollars and 59 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus, sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
Register for one of the premier events of the Chartered Accountants Week 2024, the ICAJ Business Conference. That's right, the conference is set for October 10, 2024 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. This year's theme, Reimagining the Future, Integrity, Innovation and Impact, will provide business and accounting professionals with modern strategies for today's economy. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online on Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for key discussions, insightful information on the role of AI in accounting and more. The broadcast will also feature exclusive interviews and a wealth of knowledge that will showcase ICAJ's leadership in shaping the future of accounting and finance in Jamaica. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online for this revolutionary experience on October 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The ICAJ Business Conference is back. Catch all the action at the Jamaica Pegasus online or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica.
Taboo topics,
Bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Bulletins After Dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Bulletins After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Bulletins After Dark.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening, listeners, viewers, and welcome back to the Nationwide at 5. It is now time for the Nation's Business, and I'm Siobhan Campbell. I await my co-host, Mr. Brooks, as he steps in, but in the meantime, we move forward. The Jamaica's agricultural sector is recovering from the damage caused by Hurricane Beryl, with government support and farmers' resilience. Almost $900 million has been allocated through the Rural Agriculture Development Authority, that's RADA, to execute the recovery program, with an additional $1.4 billion allocated by the government. Over 14,000 farmers have benefited from the program, which includes seed and fertilizer distribution, infrastructure rehabilitation, and technical assistance. We're being joined by President of the Jamaica Egg Farmers Association, Mark Campbell, and immediate past President of the Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, that's Linworth Fulton. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Campbell.
Good evening, gentlemen. Starting with you, Mr. Fulton, how has things gone since the passage of Hurricane Beryl? Are we back in planting? How are the seasons going?
This season, it started a little bit slowly after the hurricane, for obvious reasons. And it picked up, and they are doing quite fine in planting, but there's another hurdle. The rain continues to come. in more intensity than we needed it at this time. So some damage being done again to crop that has been being recovered and growing and so on. And for things like tomato and sweet pepper and so on, they are getting too much rain now. But the recovery from burial, the government has done its very best, and our farmer have responded tremendously to those assistance.
Mm-hmm. And Mark Campbell, where the egg farmers are concerned, how have they been faring since this hurricane?
Well, there have been those who were directly impacted, mainly the South Coast farmers. They have been putting back their operations together, and a couple of them in the Northeast, St. Mary and so on, they have been putting themselves back together, getting ready for the peak season of Christmas and so on. That's how it has been. I don't think any of the egg farmers have seen any of the government benefits as yet. I know they have been canvassed on it, so I think they are not waiting though. They're trying to put their farms back in business. As the minister said earlier, that is the nature of farmers. They don't wait around once a disaster hits. They welcome any assistance, but they don't wait. And the egg farmers are a very good example of that resilience.
So you say that they've been canvassed by government or state actors, I suppose. But you're saying that the actual funding assistance that they would require, that has not yet gotten to them.
Yes, I do not know of any egg farmer who has received any support so far. But I know that through RADA they were approached, and they have been. I think that I think they are hopeful that something will come their way, but they're pressing on with their business.
What specific requests, or I should say, what specific assurances have been given by the government in terms of support for the egg farmers? Or more accurately, what support do you need?
All right. Well, if you look at the main damage that was done was to initially infrastructure, mainly roofing, that sort of thing. And they would have welcomed any support in that direction. Some amount of damage to buildings other than the roof, that was also recorded, and these have been all tabulated and submitted either to RADA or directly to the ministry. But the farmers are pressing on. What happened afterwards now is, in a way, a little more damaging than what the storm did, because the experience the birds had with the storm stressed them immediately. So the production fell sharply. After that, we estimate that between 20 and 30% of the production was lost. Birds are very sensitive to any change in the environment. A simple thing as wearing different colored clothing into the fowl houses can affect the production. Change of feeding, or any if the water gets too warm, all of that. So this hurricane really impacted the birds in a serious way, that the production went down significantly.
But
And
have
we
you been able to get that level of production back up to pre-berry levels?
Yes, I think we're getting there now, but it took quite a bit longer than we anticipated. We had projected that we would have been back to pre-berry level in about 3 weeks or so. It took much longer than that, and that is what really created a tightness which has appeared in the market. The tightness of eggs. But we are confident that we should have the eggs for the peak season of Christmas and the tourist season too, because in this month of October and November, some 200,000 new layers will be going into the field. And this is that number is 20% of the national flock right now. And so we figure that we should be all right. We don't know. There are certain factors that we can't exactly predict.
Right.
But we're confident that the eggs should be here.
And Linward Fulton, you know that a major part of the concerns of consumers is how will what happened in July and the need to get back to full production affect their Christmas shopping and preparations for the festive season. Are you anticipating any fall off?
Well, I don't think we will have as bountiful of a crop as was last year, but I don't think we'll be short significantly in much of our vegetables.
Okay.
I do think all of them are, in the ground now. Sufficing to say, we couldn't get adequate cabbage seed and some varieties of tomatoes and so on. Those were short in supply. So I get to understand that the input suppliers have now had adequate amount of seeds. And it is still not too late to get these things in the ground and to have some maturity by Christmas.
But what about those plants that have a longer maturation time, such as bananas, plantains? Do you see the stock of those being impacted in for the Christmas period?
Yes, you will have shortage of things like banana and plantain. And things like cassava was seriously damaged too. And the fruits that have been blown off the tree. So we will go through some shortage, but not enough to create panic.
And what about the pricing situation? A lot of Jamaicans have been concerned about the prices being a little high. And obviously with some level of shortage, there's going to be a price adjustment upwards. But have you seen any concern where the prices are going a little higher than they should be in terms of some concerns of price gouging?
I don't know if it's price gouging, but I don't think we can expect to have $1 at 159 plus, nearly 160, which is being sold in the street for 165. Nothing drives inflation more than a sliding dollar. So it's inflationary, and we'll have to control the macroeconomic environment too, to stabilize prices, not only from the farmer. We need to do more from the macroeconomic platform to create a more stable environment, and prices will trend down when we do that.
Very well. What about the inputs, though? I mean, I can imagine those have gone up in cost as well.
Exactly, and that is you hit the nail on the head. Once the dollar slides, all our input go up, from seeds, fertilizer, and all our input, because we import them. And once you put greater expense in the farm, then the farmer will have to move the prices up to at least break even. Please go ahead.
Right, no, I was going to ask Mark Campbell because Mr. Fulton, you and I have had this conversation about sustainability going forward, especially because we're seeing these worsening weather patterns. In terms of egg farmers, are there any strategies which are not now being used, Mr. Campbell, that you think they can start to think about going forward?
Well, the thing is that we estimate that we have maybe between 3,000 and maybe 5,000 persons in Jamaica producing eggs. It probably surprise you to know that some professionals, lawyers, teachers, many of them have 50, 100 layers in their backyard, and they produce eggs. But the main thing that we would love to see the bigger farmers who are more at a commercial level, maybe having anywhere over 3,000 layers. We'd like to see them pay a little more attention to the latest information that is available to maximize production. The birds that are being produced now, they are highly and well prepared, generally speaking. And if our farmers should pay attention to some of the best practices in the business, their lighting program. For example, this time of the year when the day is shorter and we're having a period of lighting that is down now, I think, to between 10 and 11 hours of daylight. You have to add artificial lighting to the birds, because the lighting is not only for feeding purposes. The lighting is for stimulating the productive glands of the birds to let them lay that egg. So there are many management practices that we would like to see. Their lighting program is definitely one. Most farmers are aware of the feeding program. And then the supplements that are available for the birds to continue at a high level of productivity. We'd like to see them pay more attention to these matters.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it too. All right, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I'm glad that we're hearing that there perhaps won't be a shortage of eggs, because in Christmas, Jamaicans use a lot.
Baking
a lot
consumes a lot of eggs.
Yeah, of eggs, and of course vegetables. Yeah, Mr. Fulton, they're saying that perhaps you're gonna see little spike.
I see one person saying that banana prices reached $1,000 a dozen. I'm like, wow.
Do you go to the market?
My mother does my shopping for me in terms of going to the market. I go with her and I just hand over the money and say, you know what to buy.
Yeah. No. I appreciate that, because they're very good at, what do you call it, haggling?
Exactly. My mother is a master at haggling.
Yeah. If them tell me say it's $100 for the tomato, make a pay over $100.
and she know how to. She used the classic statement. They have X a stone dog, or you can be charging me for that. I said, does that work? Does it actually work?
Yeah, and they know where to go, because when you go, like, for example, Coronation Market, I'll just go to the front. Right? And get what I need.
No. So
them walk
that much I know that if you stay to the front of Coronation, you're going to get ripped off.
Yeah, my thing is that tomato. Is a tomato. A tomato at the front is a tomato at the back. I don't know. Books? You walk Corey? No. This guy front. Oh, supermarket. But no, it does take some amount of patience. Yeah?
It does, and I can imagine for those individuals who do not have the sort of more stable income that a lot of us enjoy, I can only wonder how, when they go through these kind of periods and these difficulties with prices going up, how they make that money stretch. And I'm always impressed, especially those mothers who have their children to take care of and their families to tend to, how they keep them fed and ensure that everything is taken care of. It cannot be easy.
Yeah. Our YouTubers, I see Ronald Ranger saying that he's going to ensure that we get some eggs. And quite a few YouTubers are saying prices in the market that they're falling. I think I did see some posts indicating that some of the produce.
Yeah, prices are going down, I understand it.
Down, yeah.
But I can expect that they will go up as we come closer to the holiday period.
When the demand gets higher.
Yes.
Yeah, perhaps. All right, so after the break, I think it's going to be Siobhan's turn because it's Think Like a Stockbroker. It's back, yeah? So, after the break, Siobhan and Sagicor with Think Like a Stockbroker.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Imagine opening a bank account without ever leaving your home. Well, at CIBC Caribbean, we've changed the game. Open a new CIBC savings or checking account completely online using your computer or phone, anywhere, anytime. No need to visit the bank, no waiting in line. Just apply, verify, and sign your documents, all online. It's secure, seamless, and 100% digital. Open your new CIBC account by applying online today.
So what you get? The new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich, my girl. The flavor just hits different.
Blackened like it burn up?
Nah, man. Blackened because of the color of the Louisiana herbs and spices. Blackened like the flavor buck. No breading and the seasoning soaked deep in the chicken. But get yours and try it, cause me nah share here. Get the new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich. Limited time only.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Choose your life insurance coverage, apply, and pay online. Live the e-life with Sagicor Life. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
Some see the glass half empty, others see the glass half full. You check if there's water in the tap because smart investors think ahead. This is Sagicor Investments. Think like a stockbroker, giving you a clearer perspective on the investment markets.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, as we start up another exciting series of Think Like a Stockbroker, where we give you the insights that you need to navigate the market. Joining me again is Assistant Vice President for Research and Strategy at Sagicor Investments, Jody Ann Aris. How are you doing, Jody? It's good to see you. It has been a minute.
Hi, Siobhan. I'm doing well. It's really nice to be back.
So, before we get started into the series again, let's refresh our listeners and viewers as to what does it mean to be a stockbroker.
Okay, well, a stockbroker is what you refer to as is a financial professional that executes trades on the market. So, for example, if it is that we are talking here on Think Like a Stockbroker, and there is a particular stock recommendation and you would like to make such a purchase and you have had that discussion with your Sagicor Investments wealth advisor, they'd send that order that you'd like to purchase a particular stock to your stockbroker, and then they will now go out and try and find somebody who is selling that particular stock. So they work on for both sides. So they're really bringing buyers and sellers together in the market to execute a trade.
And just another refresher, the mindset of a stockbroker. What are we looking for?
So the mindset of a stockbroker is that you're trying to find best value for both parties. So you're trying to find a particular price that allows for your sellers to not necessarily lose, but also for your winners to not feel as though they have overpaid for a particular stock. So it's really finding value within the market is how a stockbroker thinks.
So let's get into the matter of the day. When we left off some time ago, we were talking about some anticipated rate cuts, both locally and overseas in the United States. It seems those have now come into fruition. In the United States, we saw where the Federal Reserve has cut things by about 0.5 percentage point. Can you explain to us how that now affects the market, and what more should we expect before the end of the year?
Sure. So basically, as you have summed up, we really, at the start of this year, we're talking about expectations for cuts. And now that the cuts have commenced, we're really talking about more so on the pace of the cuts. Are we going to be seeing, small incremental consistent cuts? Are we going to be seeing, a cut here and then a long pause? And, is it still going to be a higher for longer type of environment? And I think when you look at how it is that it has played out, so for example, the Bank of Canada started their cuts in June, and they would have done 25 basis points at that point. And then they returned in July and they did another cut, and then in September they did another cut. But if you look now at the Bank of England, they did one cut 1 month, and then they returned the other month and said, hey, we're going to hold here. So you could see not necessarily consistent cuts, but you could see periods of pauses as well. And what I think all central banks have been very keen on is that they are taking it meeting by meeting. So each monetary policy committee is meeting, and they're looking at the key indicators each meeting and seeing what is likely to impact those indicators before they make a step. So even though the key indicator that they're watching is inflation, and you find that for most countries inflation has either hit into the targeted range or it is steadily moving towards that target that they have, and so there's confidence that it's going to continue to inch down. For those countries, there is still events that happen that prevent that are risks to inflation, and so they have to do those assessments case by case or each meeting by meeting. And so it's quite important for us as investors that we continue to watch, because interest rates do have an impact in terms of how it is that equities play, as well as if you look at the bond market, it does have an impact there as well. One of the things our research team would have done in our weekly commentary for last week is that we'd have had a discussion on the BOJ having done 2 cuts and what would this mean for investors. And what you want to look at is what shifts will happen now that we're moving from a high interest rate environment and we're easing now into a low interest rate environment. What shifts could occur in the market, and to make your move before the shift actually happens, because you're buying into the future. So you don't want to wait until you see interest rates come all the way down to the low levels, and then you're like, oh, let me take action, because all the deals will probably miss you, right? So what you want to do is to take action before everything starts to play out. And what we are saying to our clients is that there's going to be shifts more so towards equity investing. And we have been talking about this from last season, that you want to look at value that you can find in the market now. Companies that are probably feeling somewhat of an impact of the high interest rate environment, but are likely to start rebounding once it is that interest rates start to move down on a consistent manner. And so our blog feature that we had in our weekly reports will provide some additional guidance and insights as to what it is in terms of the actions that you as investors should take going forward.
I know there was the issue of the port workers strike in the United States sometime last week, which was suspended. How do things like this affect us navigating the market?
Well, it's definitely something that the market takes serious, because you want to always look at what these events or actions could do to the market. And I think one of the things that hit people at first was, this could have some impact on trade. If it is that the ports are closed for a period of time, how is it that goods are going to be moving about? And so there was that first hit thought that most persons had. That would have said, if it is that there is no shortage because things are not able to move as freely, what could this do to inflation? And as we just spoke about, the Fed, all monetary policy committees are looking at inflation. And so if there is something that could impact inflation, then this is no concerns for the market. And even one of the things with events such as these is that the longer they tarry on, is the deeper the impact is, because there is actually, the ports play a very key function in all economies. And so if it is that there is a sustained period of disruption, right, then you're likely to see that flowing through in terms of economic activity. So it means that companies that would be preparing, for example, now for Christmas season, would be probably getting goods now, and if it's extended for a long period of time, it would delay getting those goods. And there's no point in getting Christmas trees after Christmas, because it's not fit to sell, right? So there are potential impacts, and if there's a shortage of Christmas items, then you would likely see a sky rise in those prices. And so that would have been a first thought. There was actually one company who did an assessment to say if it is that this continued for just a week, there is a total shutdown just for a week, the cost to the economy could be around 2.1 billion in the US. And that's huge numbers. So that's what we're talking about in terms of a close down. And you think about perishable items, if those are
left on the port, yes.
Right, they're just going to be thrown away. And so those companies who are involved in that production, those companies involved in transports would take a hit in terms of their performance. So you're also looking, is it then that I have any equity holdings in companies that have a direct impact to this sector? And those are some of the factors that you'd consider. I think further, based on the nature of the strike, as in the port workers or the union was really going towards having a pay increase. And if you think about wage increase, that could also have an impact on inflation. And so these were concerns that the markets really looked at this situation and decided that, it could be something that we definitely need to watch, because if it progresses for an extended period of time, there could really be some impact negatively to the market.
And I mean, looking even further afield, there's been an escalating of tensions in the Middle East between the Israelis and the Lebanese. They have invaded the Lebanese border. How does matters such as that affect stock brokerage? We don't usually keep those things in mind, but how does that impact our ability to navigate the market?
It definitely does. I think probably once you think of Middle East, your mind instantly probably goes to oil, right? Yes. And oil prices have been something that have a great impact as we talk about inflation. And so if it is that there is going to be some impact in that space on oil prices, then you could see that filtering in terms of some of the monetary policy decisions that central banks would take, because if they anticipate that there could be in future some spike in oil, then they probably would want to hold back on moving interest rates. But however, the good news in this situation though is that OPEC Plus has actually indicated that there will be increase in production, and so there wasn't as strong expectation in terms of this having a spike on inflation based on that notification that would have come. So there wasn't really quite a bit of a strong expectation that we could see, big movements in oil prices upwards. But what it is that there is also concerns in terms of economic development, because if there are countries within a conflict space, then they're diverting funds from other resources into fighting. And you would have to think of the allies as well, who would then come on board with these countries, and how it could have impact generally for trade as well. And so there could be negative impact, not just for the countries who are in the direct conflict, but also the allies that may provide support. And I think, when we look at those factors, you want to always dig deep and think, how is it then that this impacts any specific companies? Are there companies that are making goods that support this sort of activity? And then those may be companies you'd want to consider that maybe there will be no increased demand for their products and services in terms of when there is conflict. One of the things that we would have released at the beginning of October to our clients is actually our recommendations on particular sectors that investors could look into for equity traded in the US. And as you know, Sagicor Investments facilitates both international and local equity trading. So I'd recommend that you reach out to your Sagicor Investments wealth advisor, and you could see some of the sectors that we are definitely recommending. And we do make quite a bit of mention in terms of how it is that you could possibly benefit from, continued geopolitical tensions heightening or escalating, and how that could impact, whether it is based on the impact you should probably shift away from a particular sector, or if based on this likely impact you could consider to move into a sector or increase your holdings in that particular space.
It's customary for you to leave us with a stock pick. What do you have for us this week?
This week, I thought it would be fitting, seeing that we're discussing port activities in the US, that we could look at our own local port. And so this week we'll be looking at Kingston Wharves. And Kingston Wharves trades under the ticker KW on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. It's a company that is involved in both terminal operations as well as logistics. And what we have been noting for Kingston Wharves is that for the first 6 months of 2024, there's actually an increase in revenue. So revenue grew by about 14%, or a little bit over that, to $5.1 billion. And in terms of net profit, we actually saw a growth as well for net profit, coming out at about $1.4 billion for that 6-month period. One of the things, as I mentioned, is that there are two segments that KW operates under. So there is the terminal operations division, as well as there is the logistics division. And logistics now looks at warehousing, cold storage, rental of property. And what you find from a stockbroker, one of the things that you want to highlight or look at is that when a company provides information in terms of segment breakdown, you want to see how those two segments are doing. So naturally for Kingston Wharves, terminal operations is the core of their business. So that accounts for about 60% of revenues. But what a breakdown in terms of the division shows is how it is that a company is preparing for what is to come. How is it that they're expanding themselves to make moves in terms of market shifts. So logistics is something that really has been over time. So it's a word that we have been hearing quite a bit, probably over the last 15 to 20 years in terms of, increased expectations for logistics. So you want to look at a company to see what it is that they're planning to do. Are they adding additional divisions? How are those divisions expanding? Because as we remember from season 1, that as equity investors, you are really buying into the future of a company. Yes. So you always want to assess what is this company likely to do going forward, because we're not just buying today. We're buying thinking of investments for probably our children 5 years, 10 years down the line. So you want to think of what's likely to happen with your company. On the other hand, though, sometimes it can reveal company moves that you probably want to stay away from. So if you think about a company that has a core operations and then you notice that they're building out a second division or a third division that is not really aligned with the core, then you want to assess, is it that the management of this company has the skill set to really work through or make the best use of the resources by adding this second division. And so that's something that, on the flip side, that you'd also want to look at, and stockbrokers actually focus and zone in on to see, is this expansion really feasible? Does it make sense for this particular company based on the skill sets of management, based on how it is that the core operations are to add on this new segment or to expand in this new segment. But just to track back now on Kingston Wharves generally, what it is that our research team has found in terms of when we look at future for the company and our assessment, some of the positives that we'd have highlighted is that for a company like Kingston Wharves that would have had an increase in revenue year over year, and it has seasonalities, meaning that the company actually sees the bulk of its activities happening in the second half of the year, then it's likely that we're going to see this continuation in terms of revenue growth, because we're expecting that there's going to be some bump up at the end of the second half base relative to the first half, because more activities.
To the future, yes.
Right. And so that's one of the things that we'd have assessed. We also looked at the fact that if interest rates are coming downwards, it means that persons are going to start to do a little bit more with the extra cash that you have, because over time with interest rates coming down, it means that your servicing for loans could be less. And so in terms of that extra cash, you could be then looking to do more consumer type activities, and that would be good for the ports, because it will be more goods and services, goods trading, because increased demand. And I think one of the announcements that they would have made is that they are looking to make a US $100 million investment over a 5-year period to bring more logistic services to the western end of Jamaica. And that speaks to the potential for growth in the future. And that is one of the big ticket items that we'd have considered in terms of our valuation and our expectation for where it is that we'd see this stock moving probably in the next year or two. And so we would have issued a overweight recommendation for this stock, and you can definitely reach out to your Sagicor Investments wealth advisor for a full discussion and a full write-up on this company, which would have touched on things I would have mentioned plus more. And so you could have that discussion as you move into your investing journey.
Thank you again for that recommendation, Jodian, and thank you listeners and viewers for joining us for another exciting episode of Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. Please tune again, same time next week.
That was Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. Smart investors think ahead. Join us on Nationwide 90 FM, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. when you build wealth with Sagicor Investments. You never have to settle for less than your dreams. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor so Sagicor Investments can help you create, grow, and preserve your wealth.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Awake from your slumber, O church. Awake, awake, O Zion. Clothe yourself with strength. Put on your garments of splendor. When the prophet Isaiah wrote these words, chapter 52, verse 1, he might very well have been directing them at the church in modern-day Jamaica. In an article titled, Wake Up, Sleeping Giant, published in the Monday, September 23, 2024 Daily Observer, well-known clergyman Reverend Al Miller decries the moral decomposition taking place in the country and asks, what will you do, church? Will you pray, then turn and run away, hoping for the best? He calls the church to action. I quote him, we are challenging the church, the sleeping giant, to awake and take back her place as the ambassador of the kingdom of God. End of quote. Reverend Al's call is timely. As a backdrop to a conference on Emancipation Day 2024, convener of Caribbean Christian Leadership Network, CCLN, Yakengeli, observed the following. I quote him, the Jamaican church, having played a pivotal role in shaping our country's institutional landscape, has retreated from its social activism and now is insufficiently motivated, organized, or equipped to manage a development agenda, and is generally disconnected from the ongoing struggle of the Jamaican people for social justice and economic equity. End of quote. In the book titled Rebellion to Riot, The Jamaican Church and Nation Building, author Devon Dick posits the following. I quote in part. The Act of Emancipation granting full free in 1838 meant that, legally, approximately 320,000 slaves in Jamaica had been made free people. However, no thought was given to where the largest population of ex-slaves in the British West Indies would live. It is within this context that the Jamaican church filled a void in developing a community and building a nation. The church leaders, with assistance from overseas missionary bodies, began their free village system by acquiring large plots of land. They acted as financiers, subdividing the land into manageable lots and selling them to the newly freed blacks. End of quote from Devon Dick's book, Rebellion to Riot. In the immediate post-emancipation period when social activism was at its height, The social services sector, including the church, could have contributed as much as 25% of the country's gross domestic product, GDP. Today, that figure is down to 4 to 6%, my estimate. What is at the root of such a steep decline in the real and perceived impact of the church on the country's economic and social development in the 172 years between emancipation and now? One possibility is the increasing belief in some church circles that social and economic outreach are pursued at the expense of the salvation mission of the church. According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin 2011 census, of Jamaica's 2.7 million population, 2.1 million persons, or 78%, had affiliation spread over 21 denominations. That makes the church the country's biggest membership organization and a powerful force for good. If ever the church needed to make its presence felt in the social and economic life of Jamaica, that time is now. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
So where you get? The new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich, my girl. The flavor just hits different.
Blackened like it burn up?
Nah, man. Blackened because of the color of the Louisiana herbs and spices. Blackened like the flavor buck. No breading and the seasoning soaked deep in the chicken. But get yours and try it, cause me nah share here. Get the new Popeye's blackened chicken sandwich. Limited time only.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Taboo topics. Voyagings after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between.
Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Voyagings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Voyagings After Dark.
Register for one of the premier events of the Chartered Accountants Week 2024, the ICAJ Business Conference. That's right, the conference is set for October 10, 2024 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. This year's theme, Reimagining the Future, Integrity, Innovation and Impact, will provide business and accounting professionals with modern strategies for today's economy. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online on Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for key discussions, insightful information on the role of AI in accounting and more. The broadcast will also feature exclusive interviews and a wealth of knowledge that will showcase ICAJ's leadership in shaping the future of accounting and finance in Jamaica. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online for this revolutionary experience on October 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The ICAJ Business Conference is back. Catch all the action at the Jamaica Pegasus online or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. Before we go to your calls, we're actually going to get an update regarding Hurricane Milton, which is nearing landfall in Florida. And as I understand, more than 500,000 homes and businesses are already without power And we are going to be hearing now from some people over there. The director of the Department of Emergency and Management for Miami-Dade County, Pete Gomes, Christopher Ebanks, who is visiting his mother in Port St. Lucie in Florida, and Oliver Mayer, who is Jamaica's Consul General to Miami. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Let me start with you, Pete Gomes. What is the situation now on the ground in Florida?
Well, the hurricane has started making impact in Florida, and we have tornadoes have made landfall in different areas of Florida, destroying homes, destroying neighborhoods, multi-family homes, single-family homes. One sheriff's office lost a complete garage and destroyed about 20 to 30 brand new police vehicles, and it hasn't even made landfall yet. So what we're seeing are the tornadoes ahead of the storm.
Oh dear. And the situation, how severe is it? If the storm has not actually made landfall already, how can you give an assessment of already how much damage has been done?
Well, I don't have a complete assessment. We got a report from the Division of Emergency Management, which is the state Division of Emergency Management. And as the other counties were reporting, you can hear the angst in the voices because, that, like I said, the storm hasn't even hit yet, really, and they're already experiencing incredible winds. Well, you know, they're getting the front end of the storm. They haven't got the eye yet, and they're experiencing incredible damage already. Lots of tornadoes all over the place, and, you know, this is going to be in the millions, if not billions of dollars of damage for this area.
Oh dear. Christopher Ebanks, I understand you're up there visiting your mother. How are things? Have you battened down the hatches?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the back door, I just put in the final piece of the shutter on the back door. And so we're pretty much ready for whatever comes. I don't know if you can be well prepared, but we are as prepared as we can possibly be at this time.
Have you experienced any of the winds or the rains as of yet?
Yes, throughout the course of the day, we've been having intermittent showers. And sometimes it gets a little bit gusty, you know, more than normal. And so it almost seems as if we're about to get the hurricane. But we know that it is the big thing is between tonight and tomorrow morning.
Understood. And Oliver Mayer, you're Jamaica's Consul General. How are things in Miami and the wider Florida wider Florida county? Have you settled down with any of the Jamaicans there to check in with them to make sure they're all okay and everybody's ready for the storm as it approaches?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on the program. Yes, we've been in dialogue with a lot of members from the community right throughout Florida, and what we have a greater sense of preparedness this time around, even more than Hurricane Helen, and persons evacuated, for example, from Tampa, came down to Fort Lauderdale and Miami, so moved into Orlando. Many of our students in Tampa also made their way out of that city. I'm getting blow by blow from different persons. I understand that you know, persons in Wilmington and in Orlando and Kissimmee having a lot of heavy rains and winds. We have had some winds down here and some rain, but I think the big area of concern so far has been the tornadoes. I mean, they are the most tornado warnings have ever been issued at this time, and so a lot of damage has been done already by the tornadoes. By the time tomorrow, and persons are able to, well, hopefully, depending on how the weather system goes, we're able to go out and assess. We'll get a better idea of how much damage has been done. But we're bracing. Jamaicans have generally prepared. the ones I've spoken to. And we hope for the best, and we have encouraged everybody here to ensure that we don't take any chances, heed all the advisories, take all the safety precautions, and just let safety be our guide at this time.
Understood. I said Florida County, I meant Florida State there. My apologies. Back to you, Pete Gomes. How is things in terms of flooding? I understand there's been a great deal of flooding already, considering the amount of rainfall that has been dumped on the state.
Yeah, there's a lot of storm surge with this particular event. There was predictions in the 14 to 15 foot storm surge for the Tampa, Sarasota, which is the west coast of Florida. We were anticipating those kind of storm surges. Obviously, we won't be able to know until all these winds come through and see actually how much water came up. But we were anticipating in some areas 9 to 12 feet of storm surge. So think about it. That's probably a 2-story home that's going to be completely underwater by the water that's being moved up into the land by this hurricane.
That is Pete Gomes. He's the Director of the Department for Emergency Management for Miami-Dade County. We have Christopher Ebanks, who is visiting his mother in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and Oliver Mayer. He's Jamaica's Consul General to Miami. All the best, gentlemen. I hope everything goes well for you. Please batten down the hatches and take care of yourselves, your families, and your neighbors as the storm passes. All the best.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, sir.
And just a further update, just coming in now, the Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, is calling for people in the state to batten down. He's saying you should shelter in place now as Hurricane Milton makes landfall near Sarasota County. Now's the time to shelter in place. He says first responders are staged and ready to go as soon as weather conditions allow. Search and rescue efforts will be well on the way to save lives before dawn, and they will continue for as long as it takes. That is Ron DeSantis responding to the emergency situation there in Florida. After the break, your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Register for one of the premier events of the Chartered Accountants Week 2024, the ICAJ Business Conference. That's right, the conference is set for October 10, 2024 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. This year's theme, Reimagining the Future, Integrity, Innovation, and Impact, will provide business and accounting professionals with modern strategies for today's economy. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online on Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for key discussions, insightful information on the role of AI in accounting, and more. The broadcast will also feature exclusive interviews and a wealth of knowledge that will showcase ICAJ's leadership in shaping the future of accounting and finance in Jamaica. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online for this revolutionary experience on October 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The ICAJ Business Conference is back. Catch all the action at the Jamaica Pegasus online or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica.
7:36, and we're taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Cleveland, you're on the line. Good evening.
Hi, good evening to you both, Ricardo and Siobhan.
Just me for the moment, waiting for Mr. Brooks to get back.
It's so low because usually when I'm waiting on to join in with you, hear something chipping. I don't hear chipping in at all. Like it returns to make me hear what he's saying.
Oh, okay. But beyond that, Cleveland, what's on your mind?
Anyhow, the press. I'm not one of them that want to attack the press. I encourage anyone want to attack the press.
As we hope all Jamaicans would fall in that category.
But hear this now. Today news is saying how journalists attack Mrs. Wilson, Mrs. Morrison, Miss Morris, because she didn't say anything about what all people are attacking the press.
Was she attacked, or did she ask a question?
Well,
was she asked a
because
question?
I hear it in news.
I don't believe that was what.
Whose news did you hear that in?
Huh?
Whose news did you hear that in?
I hear it on Algeria news.
That she was attacked?
And I was surprised to hear that word were used.
Oh, well. I can't comment on it because I didn't hear it. But she was just asked a question. Nobody attacked her.
Well, that's what it says.
Oh, I see.
But I'm telling you, I used to love to read my papers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And from I see how they treat the JLP. I stopped buying Gleaner and Observer a good while now. Furthermore, some of the people them have writing in the paper, they're always anti government.
But I wanted to make a distinction there in Cleveland between the opinion pages where people express an opinion and the news output, yeah? Because the people we have come here who offer opinions, as commentators, they don't speak for Nationwide. You understand what I mean?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, so if somebody writes in the opinion pages of the newspapers, they don't speak for the newspaper. The editorial speaks for the newspaper. So if you want to, if you're concerned with the editorial, I can understand that. But the people who write in the newspaper, I don't think you should hold that against the newspaper.
But the people who claim that would attack the press, those people don't understand them things there, Ricardo.
Well, that is true. Yes. Media literacy is low. That is true.
That way.
That's true. That is true. Yes, that's true.
You see? And that is the problem. And it's a fact. And one lady, we were right on a Sunday. She always has some nasty thing to write about Mr. Wallace, personally. And I wonder that most times JLP don't seem to say nothing. And the people them realize that. And that's why sometimes them attack. And I'm not in agreement with it, But the press have to look into themselves too. Them need to look into themselves. Yeah. Right? If they want to have a balanced thing about press freedom and all that. Don't go on like because they are the press, you can't criticize them.
Yeah, I agree with you that some amount of introspection is always necessary. And I think, certainly we here at Nationwide, we try to do that.
Yeah. And well, that is why some people don't like your station,
Yes.
I know that for a fact.
Yes.
They don't even listen.
Yes.
Because they don't want to hear the other side of the story. Right? And that is why I want to carve out a nice little spot for yourself. And it's not because they're not supporting JLP or PMP, but because the people them just believe in the news that and it's balanced.
Yeah, because when you're ready, you cuss too.
Eh?
When you're ready, you call and cuss me too.
Of course, I can't call the other people them that at all. Yes. They not entertain me at all.
Yes.
They're not entertaining you. Have Sanjay, you know where I'm coming from.
All right, Cleveland.
Anyhow,
yes.
One more thing. The Haitians.
The Haitians, yes.
These people up to since that, I knew somebody who would take up for the Haitian. What a whole heap of them just when they come here, they're just taking up for the Haitians. It's not that we wouldn't want to help the Haitians, but my God, if we just leave things so they will fool Jamaica.
Yeah.
It's Jamaica, we have to understand that.
It's one of the most difficult problems. Because I have sympathies on both sides. I understand the horrors that the Haitian people are facing, but your point about being concerned about an influx or a significant increase in the numbers who would come on our shores. Yeah.
To shine a bad light on the government. The government don't have no feelings. They don't need to do that. They don't need to do that, sir.
All right, Cleveland.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
man. Omalo, good evening.
Good evening,
Good
Omalo.
evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Siobhan.
How are you, Omalo?
I'm okay.
Good.
I don't know if I heard you correctly, Siobhan, that the prices are going down.
Well, that seems to be the consensus on the street, as well as the information provided by the industry minister and the CAC.
Yeah, man, I've seen prices that have gone
You
down.
think that would be possible if we are above the target inflation rate? You think that would be possible if the dollar is trading at 150, 158?
I mean, while there is a correlation between prices and inflation, definitely, there's still instances when the inflation can go up, but when you have greater supply, the price can still go down.
Yeah,
and since we're coming from a situation where the supply was essentially almost wiped out, and we're now building it back up, the prices can go down.
Supply brings down inflation.
What again?
Greater supply brings down inflation.
Of a good, not necessarily of money, of a good. Greater supply can.
Yeah, in prices, because inflation is too much money.
Yeah, precisely. So yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, it kind of puzzled me because the numbers are saying that 6.5 and 158, and these are all things that affect prices going up, not coming down.
Yeah, but remember, there was a major spike. There was a major spike because of the hurricane, and much of the agricultural produce was wiped out. So now that you have that coming back on, you can see where the impact in price would be almost expected.
All right, let's wait for the figures them to go down, and then we can say at least we know that price really is it's trending now.
All right.
Yeah. Other than that, really and truly, you think the media put itself in a position? Let me ask this question. It's going to be a really hard question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Can we understand the media? The media is a business, yeah, and the business have an obligation for profit. I understand that, so I'm not against the media doing what the media doing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's we supposed to understand and dissect the information that is coming out to us.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying, you think government should be spending taxpayers' money advertising and for-profit media houses?
You want my personal opinion on that one, Omalo, or just a more reserved opinion on that?
Do you think there will be a conflict of interest anywhere? Do you think it can create a conflict of interest?
No.
No?
No, because I'll tell you why. So, all right. Let's talk about the structure of a media house, right?
Mm-hmm.
The newsroom is supposed to be
separate and apart,
and the most insulated part of a media house, right? That's why you have editorial levels, and the sales function, which is usually led by, I don't know, a general manager or a marketing manager, is very separate from what happens in the newsroom. None of the reporters in any media house, so far as I know, goes out seeking advertising.
Not at all.
Right? You know what I mean? We don't go out seeking advertising. We don't sign advertising contracts. We don't even know.
Advertising dollars pay you though.
Everybody.
Okay then.
Right.
So it's not a separate entity in terms of maybe in terms of how the structure is set up, but in terms
what Ricardo is suggesting,
in terms of the output,
what Ricardo is suggesting that regardless of where the funding
comes from, right,
it does not affect the editorial and journalistic output of the organization.
You know why I really even asked you this question?
Yeah.
Because it's a question. It's something that has been raised by the opposition in Canada.
Oh. What was the concern?
Yeah, something has been raised by the opposition in Canada
mm-hmm.
as to government using taxpayers' money to advertise and for-profit media. And if this, and I'm wondering, because if I am for a for-profit entity and someone is doing business with me, I don't think I want to really upset that person that I'm in my money from? I don't think so. I'm going to want to have a relationship with them. I think it is a very touchy and an edgy thing. But I
see what you mean, and that's why, for example, there are publications. For example, I can think of the Guardian in the UK. They have resorted. Well, I shouldn't say resorted. One of the strategies they're using is that they appeal directly to their readership for donations, because they say they don't want to take corporate funding, I suppose. So they appeal for donations. But what you've raised is a difficult question.
That's why,
because there's a business, right? There's a business side of it.
That's why I started with, if you wanted a reserved response,
right,
as Mr. Brooks has given on my personal opinion.
Right.
That's why I really I'm lenient to radio stations and media entities and stuff like this. I'm lenient because I understand it is a business. You understand me? And really and truly, it is up to we. But you know one thing that I've acknowledged. I've been on Twitter and I've seen. You have the PMP and they have the Labour Right and all of them, but they don't discuss policies. All they discuss is their feelings
and personalities.
Feelings and personalities.
Which has been a failure for politics for a while now.
It's true.
You know what most of it is driven by? What comes out in the media, on-air media.
Oh.
What comes out on-air media, most of it is discussed, and they really are not discussing it in ways as to the merit or the values of the argument. They are just discussing it based on their feelings or the political affiliation. So you will go inside a group and try to be objective about what they're saying. And they block you because, they classify you as a Labour Right or as a PMP. And every time I go in a TikTok group and try to go in a TikTok group to have a conversation with Jamaican, is either I'm a Labour Right? Oh, you are the PMP that always a call nationwide. And I'm saying, I never born with a PMP or a JMP birth certificate.
They call you PMP, Omalo?
They call me PMP. They born with a Jamaican birth certificate. Me no affiliate. Me straight Jamaican. Me say Jamaica. And me will tell you when Nigel Clark policy them no good. And me will tell you if the People's National policy them no good. And me will tell you me now go around no corner. Me no care about none of them other than me care what they're going to do to develop Jamaica.
Fair. All right, Omalo.
What I'm saying?
Yeah, sometimes you just have to drown out the
noise.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny. So Bugs just said in my ear who is holding on the line. And let me tell you, Bugs. Clark says, come in, Carl. And PB says, better call a hole. Carl, good evening.
Evening, Carl.
The YouTubers knew you were holding.
But then I must, man. Election time.
Election time. All right. What I got?
One thing I'll say for you, Carl, at least you know which lane you fall into and you don't try to pretend it the other way. Don't it?
Right. I heard Nikhil and Julian talking about the $75 billion
securitization.
Say government.
Yes.
Put up for 12 years and collect it now. It seems like both Julian and Nikhil Philip, young Nikhil, born yesterday. In fact, that say PMP did do the same levy with the backside company.
But he said that. He said that. He said that, Carl.
But hold on. Said that is one. Why never explain out the rest of the Jamaica people here that the money where did collect off of that? Nobody know where it turn because it turn in a overrun. So all when Bobby Pickers give little we say road did go pothole free by 2003.
I remember that.
Still in a pothole today.
We should do hold on. Sorry, Carl. You know what we should do? We should go back in the archives and find all the promises that politicians have made in this country. It's just some elaborate promises have never been. I remember that one, Carl. I think I was in second form, I remember that.
Pothole free by 2003.
Yeah. Ricardo.
Yes.
You know why me always ask you say, me will want PMP if you put out their manifesto. Because we out here waiting on it. Because they really take Jamaican people for fool. They really take us for fool. Because Nickel should have never go down there yesterday.
No, but to be fair, Carl, it should be a concern, you know. Remember, these are revenues that we're going to be giving up for a significant period of time. That should concern people.
I have no problem in what you're saying now. But when the government tell me, say, I'm going to use $20 billion fix some of the road. When time them did do the same levy business, we never hear what the money done with. That's the problem we have with them. That's the difference with what happened Monday evening. And I think I heard Peter Estute Monday evening, the deacon. And Peter Estute is on radio just like myself. A battering party.
Well, I don't know that.
Well, you don't know that, but we know that. Peter Estute is battering party. And Peter, all the years, Omar outside politics, about 12 years now, something like that. And Peter Estute have never said until Monday night, say, you know, agree with when Omar did say he run with it. You see, they tell you, say, all time people always have a say. When you chew a stone in a hog pen, the one we get is not cry. Poor your Peter Estute. You never see this all the while. He come and said, but you can't say
no, Carl, did you actually listen to what the good deacon was saying? Because what he was saying was reasonable, you know.
Monday night.
He was saying, okay, what did you
Monday
understand?
night that if I hope the money no use to event.
Isn't that that was a fair comment?
So why never said that when Omar did go from Meadowbrook School?
Well, I don't know if he said it back then. I don't know if he said it back then, Carl, but I'm saying the comment that he made on Monday night was a fair comment. That's a fair comment. You want the money to be used. You want the money to be used wisely. And it is going to be used wisely. We've now heard, hold on, we've now heard what it is going to be used for. And so it's going to be used wisely.
A fair comment. If 5 or 6 years ago, it come out like how some of us lash it and say it was wrong. It make people hang themselves. It make people do all kind of things that was bad. If he did talk 5 or 6 years ago and repeat it Monday evening, then me would have see with him.
All right.
Come Monday evening now and I'll talk about that. But once I go sit down, Peter is cute. But once I go sit down. You know, before me run, you know, ask the last question. I noticed say all of a sudden something come off of the radar.
What is that now?
What is happening to Mr. Silvera inside the court? I know that he cannot discuss. I won't go down there. Because the leader of the opposition...
Nothing is happening in the court. He's been remanded into custody as far as I recall.
The leader of the opposition did put it up on his social media. I think that is Saturday or this Sunday. That the lady died from natural cause. So how somebody lock up now?
I'm assuming, you know what, I'm not going to venture a guess. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Obviously...
The matter is sub judice.
Right.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Let me ask the question. So him say a lady died from natural cause.
I'm assuming that's what he was told.
Oh. And at the time, that was the information that was out.
And at the time, that was the information publicly available.
Ricardo.
Yes.
Me talk to you. If you listen me careful. So that is a person where you want to lead your country.
No, Carl, no. Stop. Stop.
And you just believe in a check it.
Is Mr. Golding a doctor?
No, but a person will give him that information. Him should have checked it.
How was he going to check that?
Remember, Carl,
be reasonable. How was he going to check that?
Ricardo, you must check things before.
But Ricardo, at the point in time, to the
we here at Nationwide reported that she died from natural causes.
It was later that we heard that there was an investigation because
everybody reported that, Carl. So you're acting as if Mr. Golding made a comment in isolation from everybody else.
He take it down half and post, Ricardo.
Because subsequent information has now proven that may not have been true, or it was not true.
He can come back all these months now and say to the Jamaica people, I have posted something that was not like that. How you see that?
Okay, so you wanted him to come out and say he was wrong, or he...
Exactly, Ricardo. You mislead the country.
Okay, all right. Okay, Carl.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Interested?
All right, Carl.
You know, Ricardo, well, I appreciate retrospection oftentimes. I feel that we do it far too often in the case of politics. When you criticize any current government or any comment made by a current politician, it's always, what about when X did do it? What about when Y did do it? So does that mean the criticism is invalid? I don't understand.
And it keeps us in a perpetual cycle of just saying, but you did it too. And then that becomes a race to the bottom. Yeah.
Come on, people. There's nothing wrong with criticizing the government or the opposition, and without having to put a context of why did it also. Sometimes the criticism can't stand on its own.
Sanjay is reminding me that after Pickersgill said pothole free by 2003, Mutty Perkins said, well, it seems it's pothole galore in 2004. That's a good one. That's a good one. Ay. These YouTubers. Good evening to you, Mark Greenswood. I don't think Mark remember who I am, but it's alright. PB, Mark, Enos, Colin, Kathleen, Mikhail, Marigold, they're all there. And they all have an opinion on everything. Colin says, if I did Andrew, I would have said Andrew should have known better. I guarantee you I would not have said that.
And how would he have known better at the time?
I don't know. Unreasonable.
This is someone asking me which...
And Beverly says, goodbye, Brooks. You're too orange. Well. All right. That's all the time we have. Books is ready for me to go. Sonia, thank you. Our producer, Sonia Stewart. Andrew Glenn Anderson, Bugs. We call him again, Bugs, the girls are more.
I told Bugs I'm going to leave that alone. So
it's Tugs, right? It's Tugs, right?
I will neither confirm nor deny.
Our colleagues in the newsroom, led by editor Cara Powell, the best in the business. Our listeners, sponsors, contributors, all of you. We appreciate you so much.
Butter to curry chicken.
Juliet Sanchez. Why you add butter to curry? A Cliff said to Juliet, and I agreed with him. You can put a little butter in it, man. A little razzle dazzle. Yeah?
Well, listeners, it's been an honor and a privilege. Have a good evening.
Good evening.